Everybody, welcome to the Juiced Up Show. I'm your host, Jake Juiced Up Accardo, episode 28 of the program. We got a good one for you on the docket today. First things first, the Juiced Up Show is ESPN meets TMZ. We do pop culture, sports, social media, anything kind of going viral. The two rules of the Juiced Up Show is we don't do politics and we don't do religion. So like I was saying on the docket today, we're going to go over to some NCAA tournament with the Final Four coming up. We had the United Football League spring football opening up this past weekend. We'll kind of go over the games for that. And then at the end of the show, it's the Juiced Up Takes. All right, so like I was saying, this past weekend, we had the NCAA men's basketball tournament continuing. We had the Sweet 16, and then we had the Elite 8. And the Elite 8, we had some great games. We had UConn and Duke coming down to a buzzer beater. Duke was, they had a 2-point lead, a few seconds left on the clock. They were inbounding the ball, doing a press break. They were trying to advance the ball up the court. They really didn't need to do that. They could have just held the ball and got fouled and then went to the foul line and then put the game away, but they ended up still trying to pass it. Ball gets deflected, tipped to a UConn player. He dishes it to one of his guys, gets the ball back, hits a tray banger from about, the start of the logo, and that was all she wrote. 0.4 seconds left. UConn goes up 73-72. After being down 19 points in the game, Duke just let them, they let them get back in the game, turning the ball over, untimely turnovers at the wrong time, just missing shots, allowing made baskets, and just really got a little laxed on defense in that game. And they ended up losing, which is very unfortunate. The Boozer brothers are pretty good players. I don't think they'll be sticking around too much. Maybe not the one that works on the forward, number 12. I don't know if it's Cam. I think his name might be Cam. I think he's the better one of the brothers. He could be going out, but I can see Caden, the other brother, returning. He's more of the guard play. But overall, it was a great game. UConn came through. Dan Hurley beating his brother, Bob Hurley's old alma mater, and Duke from the early 90s when he played there, and that was a great game. We also had Illinois versus Iowa. That was a blowout of two Big Ten teams. Illinois just really spanked the crap out of them. You got some great guard play from them. You got some great inside play from Illinois, and they'll be playing UConn in the Final Four. So you got Illinois, UConn in the Final Four. Then we had Michigan just beat up Tennessee. Michigan is hot with the ball right now, shooting from the perimeter, the inside, their chemistry, their team camaraderie. You can really see it on the court. They look like they're locked in and ready to go. And they'll be playing Arizona in the Final Four. Arizona ended up beating Purdue. That was a good little back and forth game. It wasn't too much of a blowout, but you could just tell Purdue just didn't have enough to beat Arizona. They were hanging around. They had some bigs in there rotating in and out, but I feel like Arizona's athleticism, their inside play was just too much for them, and they ended up wearing down Purdue. So our Final Four is coming down to Illinois versus UConn. Then we have Michigan versus Arizona. In my bracket, I have Michigan winning the whole thing, so I'm going to stick to that, stick to my squad, Michigan. I'm a big homer for Michigan, but I think Illinois can beat UConn. And I think we're gonna have a Big Ten men's basketball finals. And I think Illinois, with their guard play, like I was saying, their inside presence, Stojakovic going to the bucket. I think they're going to be a tough matchup for UConn. I don't think UConn has enough inside to match up with these guys. And I think it's going to be the Illinois, or whatever they're called. I think Illinois is going to get it. It's going to be Illinois, Michigan in the finals, and I got Michigan winning that game by about 6 points. So that's my prediction: Michigan versus Illinois. Men's basketball championship, Michigan winning the game by 4 points. All right. So like I was saying, we had the UFL opening weekend. That's the United Football League. I think this is going to be their third season of existence. And it's, one of the main, obviously the big owner is The Rock and his business partner, his ex-girlfriend, Danny Garcia. And they also have some other investors involved. They brought in a new investor to kind of run things and switch some things around. So they moved a couple of their franchises to different cities and locations to kind of help with better revenue streaming. They've also tried to get down into smaller stadiums, like these soccer stadiums that some of these cities have, so they can fill up the stadium more, and it's not in a big stadium where it looks empty. So we had the first game, we had Birmingham Stallions. They went against this is a new franchise, the Louisville team. And so we have A.J. McCarron now as the Birmingham head coach. He played at Alabama. He went to high school in Alabama. So what I kind of noticed was on some of these teams, they're bringing in coaches that have some type of connection to the city. So hopefully that can draw fans to come in there. So with Birmingham, you have A.J. McCarron, who also played in the UFL as a quarterback with the St. Louis Battlehawks. So you got him now as a head coach, developing his coaching skills and how he can be as a coach, being an ex-player. Still pretty young too, so we'll see how he does. They ended up getting the win against Louisville. They came back, last minute, not last minute drive, but a final drive of the game. They were able to score a touchdown, pull that game out. Pretty good quarterback play on both teams. I wouldn't. Nothing that stood out too much, but it wasn't horrible, And I think that's what this league is going for. They want good quarterback play. They want good skilled position players. So you got some good DBs, you got some good receivers, and a lot of the DBs and receivers are guys that were like 2s and 3s in the NFL, maybe practice squad guys that didn't get a lot of reps, but you could see the skills there. They have the technique. You could tell they've been NFL coached. So they're really getting down to, the skill position players and stuff like that. And the other game is we had the DC Defenders. They're our defending champions of last year. They took a loss to the Battlehawks. And the Battlehawks, recently the league made their coach go to Orlando to coach that new franchise. And the Battlehawks, they brought in Ricky Prohl, who was a receiver with the Rams, in the early 2000s with Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Oz Hakeem, Marshall Faulk. So he's very familiar with the city of St. Louis. He's familiar with, just that area, that environment of football. And the St. Louis city is your biggest draw in the UFL. They have about 30,000 fans. They had about 35 at the game. So they're your biggest draw in that league right now. They have the biggest support system out of any team in the league, which is really helping carry the league, because even in the NFL, you're going to have teams that don't get a lot of fans coming in when they suck. But you got those teams that can sell out games, and they kind of help carry the league financially in those aspects. So we had the Defenders losing. Jordan Ta'amu, good quarterback, could have been MVP last year. I think he has NFL caliber skills, in my opinion. He has a strong arm. He can scramble with his legs. I don't really know why he hasn't got the opportunity to try out for an NFL team or be on an NFL roster. But he's a very good player. He's very stout. He's good. And I think DC will be okay losing this first game, being at St. Louis on the road and you're the champion. I think maybe they should have got a home game for their first game. But they can, the league can work that out on their own. And then we also had the Dallas Renegades. They used to be Arlington. Now they're Dallas. They were playing the Houston Gamblers. Renegades, they won this game by a lot. They blew these guys out, and I think they got just based off of week one and being familiar with this quarterback, they probably got the best quarterback in the league in Austin Reed. He was on Hard Knocks a few seasons back with the Bears. He was backing up the backup Tyson. I think it's like Baguette or something like that. Tyson Paget or whatever his name is. He was backing up him and Caleb Williams. And then he ended up getting cut because he was like the third guy on the roster. But when this guy was in college at Western Kentucky, he led the nation in passing, and he was in the same class as Drake May, Michael Penix, and Drake May, Michael Penix, and then I can't remember the other guy, but he was in the draft class with 3 other quarterbacks. And he actually led the league it might have been Caleb Williams. He actually led the NCAA in passing at Western Kentucky. Just really hasn't got a good break, but you can see he has the confidence. He was slanging the rock. You could tell that he had NFL locker room experience just by the way he was acting, his poise, his his mannerisms and everything like that. The only thing that the knock on him is he gets a little excited, and then he gets a little ahead of himself, and he starts kind of making plays out of the normal and not just sticking to the script. And then the Dallas Renegades coach is Rick Neuheisel, who's coached in college. He's coached in the pros. His son coached for UCLA, just like his dad was a head coach. He got fired, and then the son was also with the program still. So that's the head coach for their team. And then we also had the Columbus Aviators versus the Orlando Storm. These are 2 new franchises. So they essentially got rid of the Memphis squad. They got rid of the Memphis franchise. They got rid of San Antonio. And then who was the other one? They got rid of those 2 teams, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. So they got rid of 3 franchises, and then they started with these ones. So San Antonio, Memphis, and the other one is just slipping my brain right now. But these are 2 new teams that they brought in, Columbus Aviators and the Orlando Storm. The Storm ended up pulling out this game, first game in Orlando. Great turnout. Like I said, they took the old coach from the Battlehawks who did really well with that franchise, and he's going to help develop this team now. The Aviators, their head coach is Ted Ginn Jr., who was a receiver for Ohio State, played a little bit in the league. I believe he was with the Dolphins. So that was kind of cool to see him out there, and that's kind of where you get that guy that has familiarity with the city and the town, and hopefully that can draw a crowd out. But overall, I thought it was great play. I thought the quarterback play was pretty good. Houston is probably going to need to look into getting a quarterback, as well as Columbus. I think they're struggling in the quarterback area, and that's really going to hold their teams back. So we'll keep an eye on them. The week's only about 10 weeks. They get about a six-figure salary for about 3 months worth of work, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world. If you don't have to work a day job when you could just play football 4 months out of the year, why not until you can't? So I think that's good. I love the league a lot. I hope it catches on. I hope people really try to give it a shot. That's obviously not the NFL. They're not trying to compete with the NFL. They're just trying to give another avenue for players to develop their skills, put more film out there, and just brushing up their skills, and then get better. And then hopefully they can, ascend to the NFL and stay on the roster. They did have a 60-yard field goal made, which was pretty cool first week of the season, because they obviously came up with this new rule. 60 yards and beyond for a field goal is a 4-pointer. So we did get our first 4-point field goal, which was pretty dope. And the UFL has produced some NFL kickers. I think the kicker for the Cowboys, Aubrey, was in the UFL. I think Bates for the Lions was in the UFL. So they developed some kickers, and I think they're going to get some more receivers. The running backs are really good in this league too. So I think teams need to keep an eye out for the running backs. If you're a team that's weak on offensive line depth, this is something to also look out for. You got guys actually getting live game reps right now. Live game reps. And so if you can bring these guys into a OTA or into, your training camp, these guys have got live game reps and they're ready to go. So hopefully this league gets a chance. Hopefully the NFL invests more time and, money into it and helps develop players, because the NFL is really the only professional system that does not have a farm league. You got baseball has a farm league, basketball has the G League, and then you got alternative leagues out around the world for basketball, and then obviously hockey has a farm system as well. So the NFL is really the only major sport that doesn't have a developmental league. And so I think this could be a good way to develop talent with the NFL, is utilizing the UFL. Maybe you got guys on your team that don't get a lot of reps. You send them down to the UFL to get some game reps in, to get some more, live action. So I think this could be something that they could utilize and they should take more advantage of. And forget the flag football shit. Forget flag football. Invest your money and time into actual tackle football and getting guys better at tackle football. All right. And now, at the end of the show, it's the juiced up takes. All right. First juiced up take. Unless you don't own a TV, a cell phone, or fucking radio, I don't know how you could not have heard about this, but Tiger Woods, another car crash, gets arrested in Florida again. This is like his 4th car crash, like 2nd DUI. This dude's a fucking mess. Tiger Woods, get your fucking life together. Like, if this guy didn't have money, he would be a what they would call in the hood. If this guy didn't have money, you know what they call him in the hood? He's a fucking burnout. He's washed up and burnt out. But the fact that he's a millionaire, pretty much a billionaire, he gets a pass for doing all this fucking dumb shit. And I don't know if you guys saw his car, the way it was like leaned over like perfectly. It didn't look like it like rolled and then slid. It was like it just like, it just like tipped over like a cow. And he was like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger and twins trying to drive on 2 wheels and shit. And so now he announced he's going to go to rehab outside the country. So he's probably never going to go to rehab. He's probably going to go to some fucking villa in Spain and just hang out with bitches and shit and just say, oh yeah, I'm getting sober. But this guy's obviously got some pill issues. He knows the drill. He took the breathalyzer because he knew he wasn't drunk. But as soon as they said take a piss test, he's like, oh, lawyer time. So he lawyered the fuck up. They took him in, DUI for not consenting to a urinal test. And so now he's got a high-powered attorney. I'm sure he'll walk off unscathed. Next new rumor is that he was on the phone with Trump when the cops showed up. Like, this guy is just a fucking mess, and he needs to get his fucking life together. And if you're in his inner circle, you need to treat this guy like Chrissy on The Sopranos when they did the little fucking intervention, and just start beating the shit out of this guy straight up. Like, you're a millionaire, you're in your 50s, and you're doing shit like you're in your 20s, bro. You're doing shit like you're in your 20s. This is some shit I would think an NIL kid would do. But you're over here driving around 50 years old, high out of your fucking mind, and you can hire a driver. You know what I mean? Get your shit together, Tiger Woods. First juiced up take. Tiger Woods is washed up and burnt out. All right. Second juiced up take. Now, I'm not saying that this is my whole point of view on this, but I just wanted to, bring this up to see what other people thought about this. So, players need coaches. Coaches need players. Obviously, the players get paid what they get paid because they're on the field or on the court doing the grunt of the work. But at the same time, do you think coaches should get paid as much as players do? Do you think a coach should make $30 million a year? And if not, why not? And if yes, then why yes? Now, here's my perspective on this. Phil Jackson, Joe Torre, Jimmy Johnson. These three coaches, they took over teams that had great rosters but couldn't get over the hump. Okay, they took these rosters that they inherited. Phil Jackson with Jordan took over for Doug Collins in the first run, and they inherited these rosters that couldn't get to the finals, and they elevated these guys to multi-win championships. Jimmy Johnson, 3 rings, left. Barry Switzer takes over. He inherited a good team, so all he had to do was just not fuck it up. That's all Barry Switzer had to do. And then after he won his 1 ring, he couldn't do shit after that. And the Cowboys they haven't even sniffed the Super Bowl since Jimmy Johnson. Joe Torre, you know his run with the Yankees, fucking coaching up Jeter, Riviera, Posada, all these Bernie Williams, all these guys. And before he got there, the Yankees couldn't do shit. When Joe Torre got there, they win 3 chips. So I feel like even though the coach doesn't play, they're putting in the mental work. They put the mental work in. Yes, it's not physical, but the mental work that they put in, being at the facility morning till night, missing family time just like players do. I feel like coaches should be on that pay scale of kind of the same tier as maybe some players. Maybe not a $50 million a year, but I mean, if you can switch over a roster and if you could inherit a roster that was good and then you take them to a chip, then I feel like you should be compensated for that. And that's just my personal opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Should coaches make $20 to $30 million a year if they're a good coach and they can elevate a team to a championship? Let me know. All right. And that was our second juiced up take of the day. I hope you enjoyed the show. And that is the end of the show. Make sure you hit like, hit subscribe, email the show, thejuicedupshow@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you guys. Send me some feedbacks. You can send me fucking hate mail. I'll take some hate mail. I don't care. Send me something, man. Send me something. Just so I know you watched, send me something. But we'll be back next week with episode 29. We'll go over the men's basketball finals. We'll recap UFL week 2. And then the show The Pit is winding down now. The season's starting to come to an end. So we're going to do another season recap of the show The Pit on HBO Max. If you haven't watched it, get caught up, man. It's a great show. It's really good if you're into those medical dramas. All right. And once again, have a good night. God bless. And thank you guys for watching.